How many great app ideas never become reality? What if I could build an application before this session ends, live in front of you all? Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. From wherever you're joining us, I'm glad to have you here. My name is Aryan Sahu, and I'm a software engineer at Lumenore. And I welcome you all to a Lumenore Studio live build from idea to live app in 60 minutes. There will be no slides about software. We will build software right in front of you live. No slides, real software. Before we start, let's talk about the challenge and the problem that we are going to solve with this session. So, whenever you have an idea, think about that time when you had an idea and you wanted to create an application out of it. You wanted to create something out of it, but you did not had enough time because we're talking about software development lifecycle, it has a lot of stages. You can see on my screen, it has idea, planning, and then the backend teams. You need to gather the backend teams, you need to create the backend, and then design the front end, and then this testing is involved, and the most important part is deployment. Once all of this is done, only then can you say that your application is live on production. Now what this means, this is weeks of handoff, multiple teams, endless waiting between each step. So we thought of an idea, why not to build something via which you can create your ideas, you can turn your ideas into live application. So this is the challenge we are solving, and we are solving it with Lumenore Studio. Now watch it all collapse, the SDLC's life cycle. You have an idea, you come to Luminous Studio with that idea, and your application is live, shipped. The outcome is same, but the fraction of a time. And that is what we are going to demonstrate here today. But it would be very easy for me to come and just create an application out of it. I want you all to decide what application we are building. So I have four options in front of you. I launch a poll, and you can decide whichever application you want me to create. And so the poll is in front of your screen. You can decide what you want me to create, and I can create that. I see a lot of you posting. We already have almost a winner. Now it's a tie. A lot of you are already posting. 50% of you have already posted here. Post your answers. We lock it in. And I guess we have enough responses. 85, in fact, 85% of you have already voted. And the clear winner here is leave management system. So we employees love leaves, right? We love leave management system. So let's see what we're going to build with leave management system today. It obviously it will be an application which handles requests, approvals, and balances, and it's beautifully simple. Trust me. This is a small animation for you all because you chose leave management, so here it is. And at core, what we are going to build. So what it is? It is a self portal where employee requests time and their managers approve it. Who is it for? Obviously for employees, managers. Each has their different persona and each gets their own view. Core features, this is the best part, this is my favorite part. This is what we are going to build today. So the core features will include leave balance insights, leave requests, approvals, email notifications, and SSO. Yes, you heard me right, we're going to build SSO and email notifications just in this time frame. And what will be the outcome? Expected outcome will be a deployed app, I'm sorry, not deployable, but deployed app with a shareable URL. So we can share that and we can see real requests coming in real time with this application. And will be our outcome with this session. Now, I want to give you a gist of what we're going to build: the UI, the logics, the data model, and connections. So, base first thing is email connections, right? So, we're going to connect email and then we're going to implement SSO. And then here's the data model. So, think of a use case. You already have a database, you already have the data, you already have those tables created in a schema. You want to connect that data to an application and you want to build an application out of it. That is where ideas come. So by default, we have taken a database. The database is created. We'll just connect it with our application and it will all work seamlessly very well. So this is the data structure that has been created. This is the data model. We have a department table with HR ID, department ID, and department name. We have employee table, which holds the first name, last name, email, and hire date. One thing I want you to notice here is that manager ID is referencing to employee ID, which means there is a parent-child relationship here, which means employee ID, manager ID will be employee ID of the employer's manager. Then we have a table which is called as leave type. So there will be four leave types already populated in this table, which is earned leaves, casual leaves, unpaid leaves, and fourth one I just forgot. So we'll go and see the database. And then there is this leave status table. Leave statuses can be of three types: approved, pending, or rejected. And then the transactional table, leave notif application. This table will hold all the transactions related to the applications that have been applied. Approval, rejected, all these things will be handled here, and the leave quota. So a lot of organizations have this leave quota per year, that this employee will get only these many types of this many leaves. So that is where the leave quota comes in. So I already have this database created. We'll connect it to our application. Now what we are going to build, how will it look in UI perspective? So this is what we are building. This will be the landing page, which we'll be calling leave insights. So you will have four different cards: earned leave, sick leave, casual leaves, unpaid leaves, and then there are three types of charts. Very beautiful charts, I must say. And then there is this leave history grid, which shows all the leave history that has you have ever applied to. Now how you will raise a request. So this is how it will look, how you will be raising a request, and the approvals page. So this is for the persona of managers. So different personas, different views. The manager persona will get this grid, and he'll have two options: either to approve this or reject this leave request. One row is one leave request. So that's pretty much it, what we're going to build. The logic part is literally translated, can be translated to an API. So we're going to build every API, but we're going to build it with workflows. I'm going to show it to you in a few minutes when we start. So we have finished all the four things that we're going to build with this application. So let's start the timer and let's begin. I'll quickly go to App Hub, alphaapp.lumenore.com. This is the application that will be available. So I'll close this page first, and then I'll log in with my credentials. Now, Lumenore Studio is a multi-tenant architecture. So one user can be in a lot of tenants. For now, for this demo purposes, I'll log into the demo tenant. Now, each tenant in Luminor Lego can have a lot of applications. So you can see I've already created multiple applications. We're going to come back to this page again, and people can create their applications. This is the page from where you create our application. You can use AI, you can use Excel or images, anything that you want. But for now, we'll be building it from scratch in a blank canvas. So here it is. I'm going to name the application. Hope the spellings are correct. What happened right now is that there was already an application in this tenant which was created by the same name, so it did not allow me to create. Now, every application has a lot of modules in it. So by default, whenever you create an application, you get a login module, but I'll create a home module. You can call it any module, and that's where we'll be placing all the pages of our application. Now, this is the blank canvas which you get. The first thing we should do is we should connect the data. So I'll come here. You'll always get a schema and you can create your tables in it. But what I'll do is I'll connect our database, which I've already told you. So we can name it as, or maybe system leave. I'll name it as leaves, and the type will be Postgres. I have a user with me, so I'll just copy and paste the details here very quickly for you all. And then the host. And since it's Postgre, we'll use the default port, which is this, and password. Now I'll test the application. The connection test was successful, so we'll create this application. Now this connection has been created for me by the name leaves, and it has all the data that I was talking about. The tables are there. So this is the department table, the employee table, the leave application table, every quota. One thing I want you to note here is that in the employees table, I have renamed this email as mine, and the name is James Smith. So any email that will be triggering to my email, it will come here. Now let's go to the UI and start building. We have in our UI two pages. One is the Leave Insights page, so I'll rename the main page to Leave Insights. I'll set it as navbar, so it is available on the navbar. And then I'll create one more page, which is the inbox page. I'll also set it on navbar. Then I'll go to the navbar and I'll have navbar settings. So I can order the pages, any number of pages that I have, I can order the pages, and then I can create icons for it. But before we do that, I will upload a logo. So uploading logos is also simple. You just go here, you select wherever your logos are, and you just click on open. The logo has been applied on the nav bar, and it was so easy. Now let's see the coloring of the nav bar. So let's style the nav bar first. according to our Figma. So I have the styles with me. And then I'm gonna say rounded elf and 0. And then I'm gonna say a little shadow. So maybe shadow MD, and then I can do a padding from the right side of 4. This has been applied. Now, according to the Figma, I have the color palette with me. So I'll just choose the colors. Background color should be this. Okay, so you can select your color from here and you can do anything, but I have the color palette with me, so I'm doing it here. And then the text color for this was this hex code. You can select, you can drag, you can do anything, but I'm directly giving in the codes because I had head dome and the active color. So I'll change the active color as well. Because this. And now you can see that our navbar is ready. You can see that in the preview page, and I can deploy this application. It was just a click of the deploy button. This application is now deployable. Now our logos had some icons as well. So we'll place the icons. For the inbox page, I'll use an inbox icon. Maybe we can use this one or this one. Okay, this was the home page. So I'll use the home icon. This one suits best. And then for this one, I'll go again and type inbox. Maybe this one. And the application is deployed with the navbar. We have both the pages. Now we're gonna do all the stuff on the canvas. So we have a root element. Let's style it. For the root element, what we can do is in the styling section, we want it on the full height. So H screen is already given. Then I want PX16, which is padding of 16 from the right direction. And then we can do flex. And then we can do some flex call. Then maybe something as gap of 4. Gap is required, so our elements do not scramble between, and a padding of 8 from the top. Now any elements that we're going to drop will have this icons. Now the base color of the root element should be this. So I'll go on the background color and I'll change it to this. Now you can see our application is framing and we have the background and the navbar ready. I can deploy this and it's deployed. Now what I'll do is I'll drop container. Now what is a container? In normal HTML and CSS, a container can be translated into a div. So you place all the divs and then everything goes inside of them. By default, we get these styles, we'll remove them and we'll use our styling. So I'll use just fix because we had two buttons, one was here and one was there. And then I'll use justify, maybe justify between, or we can use justify between would do. Yes. Now you'll see when I'll drop two containers, that one will go in this direction and one will go in this direction. And now I need a header. So I'll quickly put in a header. I dropped it in the wrong direction, so I can just drag and drop it at the right direction. That is doable as well. And I will go into the header and my leave. My leave and size. It's visible. What I'll do is I'll also style this and I'll say maybe remove this. And in this container, I'll give it full width. So you can see this doesn't go anywhere else. Now in this container, I'll remove all the stylings as well and drop two more divisions containers. In the base container, we're gonna style it so it goes flex with full. And then we're gonna say justify end. And then we're gonna say maybe a padding of 2 would do good. Not gap, but padding, I'm sorry. Padding of 2, then flex. Then we can do flex row. We have this here, it's available like this, and it's looking good, but this has gone bad. So what I'll do is I'll quickly go here and I'll remove all the styling of this container and I'll give it as with full. Now when I see it, it's looking good, nice and clean, deploy. and then I need two buttons. What this button will do, I will quickly show you. We have a lot of components. We're going to use only a few for our use cases. So I'll go to the general tab and then I'll give it a good heading, a good title. It should say leave policy. So what this button will do is it will redirect to a leave policy. It will open it in a new page and we can see that. And then this button will open a model, which will be leave request model. So we'll go here, general and request leave. And here we have two buttons available for us. Now we're gonna style it. So it looks exactly the way it does now in our Figma. So it has an icon. So I'll add an icon. So we can use the page and maybe this one will go look good. So this one is for the leave policy, and to do it on the same thing for request leave, I'll do here and use a plus icon. It did not show up. So let's see. Maybe we can use this one. We already have that in the base. So yeah, we have all our buttons ready. Now let's style the buttons. So for the leave button, the background color will be white. So I can give the code or I can directly drop it here, which is whatever is much more convenient to you. And the hover color should be this. Text color should be black. Text hover color, we'll make it as black as well. Our background color, this is a good gray, and we are done. See, it does this. And now let's add some borders to this. So maybe rounded MD we can do, and then we can do border of 2, then border of solid. This is all that I'm building is Tailwind CSS, and it's heavily available. Everyone is using it on the internet. Everyone is using in their applications. So Tailwind CSS does good. And then the border color should be gray. Border color should be gray. So what we can say is border gray of 200, maybe 200 pixels. That's good. And we have a border with a nice shadow and everything looks good. I'll deploy the application, and for this page, I'll go to styling and I'll also style this button. So what I'll do is I'll give it a background color. I have the style sheet with me, so it's easy for me to identify the background colors. You can do it however you want. Now, our background color will be this, and then our text color should be white. So our text color should be white as well. And this looks good now, similar to what we have on our Figma. So I'll close this, and we have the base thing ready. Now you'll notice that I created it on this page, but this page was blank. What do I do? We have a very good feature which is called as the copy component feature. I do not have to build this it from scratch. What I'll do is I'll just click on copy and I'll go here, paste. You can see that this page has been replicated. Now this page did not have this button in our Figma. So we'll go here, and on all the stylings, I could remove all the stylings, or I could just go on the container and I can say hidden. So if I say any style is hidden, it's gone. And just like that, we are ready. I'll just change it and go here and change it to leave requests. Another header waiting for approval. Let's say it's waiting for approval. So maybe remove all this and maybe do this. And then in the content header, general, waiting for your approval. So we did not have to spend time here creating this page. It was created for us by the copy paste functionality. I'll deploy the application and I'll come back to this. Let's add interactions for these buttons. So interactions, every button has an interaction pane. You can click on it and what interaction you wanted to do. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to go to a new URL, which will show the policy in a PDF format. So it is, since it is a URL, I'll do this. I have the URL with me. I'll just paste it here. So this is the URL of the page. And what I wanted is to select blank. I wanted to open in a blank page. So that is done. And when I click on this button, we have implemented a button which opens a URL to a PDF policy. Now, this button does something very interesting. This opens a model. modal. So this will open a modal, and but you can see that the modal is visible here. So what we'll do, firstly, we'll open this model. Clicking on this opens this, but I want it to happen on this interaction with this button. So I'll go here, I'll go open, and I'll just specify the model container that has we have dropped. So it's visible here. We have clicked it, and you can see now clicking this opens the modal. So that is done. And now we'll go to styling of this. We want to hide it. So as I've already told you, you can always do hidden and it's gone. So now we have implemented and interacted these two buttons. It is done. But copy functionality is much more than that. Let's say you have an application which has a design language and you're creating a new application which uses the same design language. You do not want to drag and drop all those components again and again and you want to apply the stylings. What you want to do is you want to copy it from a different application which has already been built. Obviously, you should have access to it, right access to it. You are supposed to copy it from there and then you can paste it in the application. So which I'll show you from here. So I have raw data for all the applications which we were going to build. So I have raw data for leave application raw data as well. What I've done is already created this. So let's say this was my design language. I'll just copy it from here. It is copied. I'll go back to my application that we are building right now. Here, and I'll paste it. Just like that, all the cards which were supposed to take a lot of time are now copied and pasted here. All I want now to do is want to connect the data. And now comes the interesting part. Here is how we're going to connect the data. What I want is a number here and a variable here according to our Figma. So I'll go to the workflow section. I'll create a new workflow and I'll name this workflow graph monthly trend, not graph monthly trend, but I want a workflow which gives me the available leaves count by leaf type. So I'll create this and then I'll drop a dynamic SQL query node. Why a dynamic SQL query node? I'll share that with you in just a second. I have all the queries written with me, so it's easier for us to create this workflow quickly. Now, what this query does, we created this, remember, leaves, and here. Now, what this query does, it takes parameters, it protects us from SQL injection. So any parameter can come from variable or you can provide static values. So anything that is coming from variable, you can use this identifier. Anything that is coming from the variables, you can use it as a parameter. And we have something called as identifiers as well. So the current user that is logged in, we can use this as identifier.current email, and all the current email the user which is using, it will be replaced by this. And all the parameters that come from the front end can be passed. So this workflow will accept leaf type as a parameter from front, and it accepts it at two places. So type name comes here and it accepts it as another place here as well. So that is why here. And if we want to test it in, we do not want to publish this first, we want to test it. So we can test it with a default value. So we can pass our variables and see what this query does. And it brings us the result, which is remaining days. This is the result view. And we have something called as a JSON view. Now one is that this 5 comes to me directly from the workflow. That is where we'll use JS expression. JS expression will help us modify the data that has been used by the or that has been created by the previous node. It takes normal JS expression, and this is the JS expression that we'll be pasting here. Now what this means is everything in a workflow will come inside data. This is the node name, previous node name which we want to extract, and you can see result set 0th to 0th. So we have extracted 0th and 0th and we have returned it here. We can run it here as well, and you can see that I have got data in 5. I'll publish this workflow and I'll use it here. Now we have this workflow, and this workflow get something went wrong because it was expecting a filter, a variable which was not passed. So for this, I will do this. Just type in the variable and value. Now it won't give us bad request, but no data. We want to pass that data. That data was coming inside of 5. So what I'll do is I'll write data here, and the pass value will look something like this. Now we can close it and view that the data is coming 5. So simply we're gonna just delete all these and copy paste it and just change the variables that are coming. So this, then again this and this, then again this and this. Now I'm going to change the variables that were coming. For this, it was sick leave. So I'll go sick since it's taking wrong variables. Hence, the something went wrong. You can change the message here. You can change the message there as well in the workflow itself. Casual. This is for casual leaves, and this is for unpaid leaves. Unpaid leaves looks good. Let's see. Yeah, that looks good. Now we need another workflow which does the same thing. Dynamic SQL and a JS expression. So I'm not going to create it from scratch. I'm just going to copy and I'm going to paste the SQL query for it. JS will remain the same because it will fetch it from the data. So let's set 0 to 0. So here it is there, and I can run the query and it gives me the consumed by total quota. Now I want to publish this workflow and I want to edit the name of this workflow. So what we can name this workflow, we can name it as consumed by quota by leave types. So it will accept a leave type, and by consumed, I'll publish the workflow and we'll add this workflow here. Let's the same process again, just the workflow name, the filter, and then the data parser. So it comes from data. So yes, that's done. I can close it. We can check it. And it's yeah. Now when we're going here, delete this, let's delete this and delete this. Copy this here, paste it here, this here, paste it here, copy this here, and paste it here. And yes, what we can see is that this particular section for our application is now completed. We need charts, and since charts is a design language, I'll come to my raw data and I'll pick the raw charts. We'll create the workflows and we'll integrate the charts there. So I'll just click on copy, come on this application homepage, and the root element, I'll paste it. We have 3 charts. We're going to name these charts. We already have the headers with us. So we're going to directly name the charts. First one is monthly leave chart, monthly leave types as per our Figma. So here it is. Then the general, same thing, but this time it's leaves consumed by leave types. So I'll change it to leaves consumed by leave types. And the last one is leave balances by leave types. Now we'll integrate workflows for this. So we'll create workflows. Workflows for these charts only need result set. That's it. So we do not need any particular transformation JS expressions. We do not need that. So I'll create the workflow. First workflow will be graph and monthly trend. Why I've written graph? I want to follow a consistent naming convention. So I wanted to populate a graph. So that's why I'm naming it as workflow monthly trend. I'll create this and I'll drop a SQL query this time. You'll see why in an SQL query in a second. So let's just paste the SQL query from there. Leaves and this. Why we choose an SQL query? Because this does not take any parameter. And since there are no parameters or something coming from the front end, we do not need it. So I'll save it and I will see the result set. It gives me the result set, leaves taken by month names. So we'll come here and go to the data section, chart section. I want it the data to come from a workflow, not a static data. So I'll apply this. I'll choose column type as column. Monthly labels will come on x-axis and the series will be here. So leaves taken, this looks good. And then let's follow our design pattern and paste the color. So let me pick the color that should shoot. So this is the color. That looks good. That looks pretty. So we are done with this chart. Now I do not want to be creating different workflows for different charts. So I'll create one workflow and I'll implement it in these 2 charts. Deploy the application, and what we're going to build is another workflow. Maybe just copy this or maybe just create one. We're going to name it as graph leaves by type. Again, the same naming convention. I wanted to populate a graph, so the leaves and then the SQL query comes here, and then SQL query, which brings data for all things stuff. So leaves by leaf type. the same database. I'm sorry, just a second. And this is the query. I'll explain you the query, but let it validate. Something there. Now we go. So if any problem that you have in the query, it shows you right there. So any wrong query that you're writing, you'll get a red message that it is wrong with the specified message. So now my query is valid. I can run it and I can deploy it. So I'll use the quoted consume days to populate the second chart and balance days for populating the first chart. Come here quickly. Let's just quickly do it. Data, workflow, graph, leaf by leaf type, chart. I want it to be an area chart. X-axis values, maybe we can say consume days, not consume days, but type names, and then in series, I'll add consume days. And the design pattern again. So color and the area chart is ready. Now same thing here, same workflow, which is graph leaf by leaf type chart. Sorry, we can use as a bar chart. Type names will come here and the series. So what I want in the series is maybe quota days, remaining quota days, and not the quota. We are saying it leave balances, remaining balances. So we'll use balance days and we're gonna paste the color. And done. We're done with the charts as well. And if we don't like the chart type, we can always go here and change the chart type from the line graph to bar graph, which corresponds to our Figma. We'll apply the application since unpaid leaves are infinite, hence 0 here. We cannot show an infinite on the graph. This is done. Now I want to display the grid, a grid which shows all the leave histories. So I'll maybe copy this whole container and drop it here. Just to copy the headings, I'll remove this from here. And then in the heading section, I'll go here, I'll go in the generals and I'll say leave PLNC's balances. Now this is here, I want a table. So I'll quickly drop a table. You can drop any table that you want. I've dropped a table and this table should have a result set. So we'll create a query for it as well, which is also a workflow. I'll create this workflow and what we can call it is I want it to populate a graph. So I will say I want to I'm not sorry, I'm not supposed to populate a graph, it is supposed to populate a grid. So here, grid, and what grid it populates, leave history. So here it is. Then what we're gonna do is again an SQL query node, because this is not a parameterized query. It will only take identified.current email, which will bring data for the current user which is logged in. So yes, leaves and then the SQL here. And yes, we'll see the result set. Anything wrong in your SQL and it shows here. So the query is valid. You'll run the query and you can see that the result set is here. The statuses, all the statuses. So I'll publish this and in the grid, again, I'll go to the data section. That's how we all know by now that that is how we use workflows. So that is here. You can set the visibility of any column that is coming from the front end and you can apply this. So in the statuses page, if we see in our, what do we call it, Figma, this are colored. So we can do that. Data type should be tags. So we can label the colors. We need 3 tags for here and 3 tags for here. And it's that simple. Now I want the label colors for pending. And then I want a text color for pending. So the label color, according to our style sheet, should be this. So you can see it is changing in real time. And the color for its text should be this. So it's changing in real time. Now what we'll do the same thing for approved. And the color for approved, text color for approved will be this. Beautiful. Now the last thing, which is rejected, we'll go to our clock. I know you guys are waiting for that. So we'll go to our clock and we'll check how much time do we have now, because time is running low. But Guess what? We have already completed the first page. It's done. See, style sheet is done, and we are done with the first page's UI. We're done with the first page's UI. We have created this charts and a grid which says colorful pending, rejected and approved status. Obviously, we love colors. So here it is. Now, this opens this. This opens a model. So last thing which is remaining is we'll be populating this model. So again, we have a language, design language. So we'll copy it from this application. I've already created this. So I'll just quickly copy it from here and paste it in our base application, main application. Maybe go here and it will open a model. I'll paste it here. What we want is the model is very small, right? So we can style it as well. I'll click it here. I'll go to the model section, styling section, the model section, and I'll give it a width of maybe 800. Does this look good? Or maybe 1000? Yeah, that looks pretty. So we'll close it, deploy, and we can see in the preview section that this opens the model. We'll apply the workflow, but first we'll work on this inbox page since this is empty. What do we have in the inbox page? A grid. So why do we need to create it? We can copy it. So we'll copy it from the application. And remember, we have created it directly in this application only. Now we need to populate the data for it. So what is it? It is a manager persona view. But let's check first our clock. How much time do we have on our clock? We have 30 minutes. We have a lot of time. So we can do that. Right. 30 minutes and so much. Let me drink some water and we'll continue on the second page. We're going solid. Now, what we want in this page is a managerial view for the approvals and reject pages. So I am an employee and I raise a request to my manager for a leave. The manager will see this page. So it uses a grid, the same grid, but we'll change the workflow. So for that, we need to create a workflow. So what we can name this workflow as, maybe what we can name grid. And then for grid, we can say maybe pending leaves. Pending leaves. And here it is. Again, only SQL query because the no parameters are required here. So I'll go here, select the leaves page, trying out the query. And boom. When I click on run, you can see all the data is visible. It is also available in the JSON viewer and no logs because there's nothing broke here. So yeah, that's the page. I'll publish the workflow and it's very easy to click. By now, we all know that we go to the data section, the workflow, and we give the workflow here. So grid pending leaves, and it is done. Now what we want is, we want to create these approve and reject as buttons. We have already done that in the previous grid, but we created them as tags. Now we want to create them as buttons. So maybe hide this leave ID as well, because no one wants to see the ID of the leave that has been created. And then what, anything else we can hide? I don't think so. So let's go to the approve button and make it as a button. We'll also do this with the reject. So I'll go to the table and then the data section. And then for reject, I'm going to do the same thing. Button. And we can see it. The buttons are ready. What we want is, we want workflows. We'll integrate those workflows in these buttons. And you can see that we will be able to do a lot of things, approve and reject with those buttons only. So that's it. I want to style it a little more. So what we can go is in the data section, approve. I can even give the column name. So I do not want it small caps, I want it upper caps. I can do that with the query as well. And I can do that here as well. Approve. And when I see it, it is approved. In the data section, approve section, it says approves. Similarly, I'll come here and for, it's already caps. So no need to do that. It's already caps, so no need to do that. Now what we'll do is apply buttons. Now it gets interesting. We want to apply workflow on a button that is inside of a grid. So a grid can have multiple entries. How do we do that? Now that is where the interesting part comes in. So first let's create a workflow. One workflow for approve, and the same workflow will work for reject as well. It will work on based on the filter or the variable that we'll be passing. So I'll come here, I'll create a new button. This time I want to do some action. So the naming convention that I'm following is action, approve, or reject. And I'm going to create this workflow. Now, watch very carefully what we're going to do here. I am going to take a dynamic SQL query node. What I'll be doing in this node is I'll be writing a query, obviously. But what will this query do? It will return some value. It accepts two things: leave ID, which I have in the table. So there will be a leave ID, marking is an integer, and it will come from variables. And then let's okay. This something when the wrong comes when you are you're not writing the correct value. So we need actual values here, actual variable names here. So leave ID, I'll name it as, and second is the status name. So status name could come from, it could be approved or rejected, right? So it could come from action name. Makes sense. I'll save it. I'll run it. Now this is done, but I want a pop-up in the UI section which says success. So here we have something called as again JS expression, but we can type in some values which reflects in the UI in a specific way. So what we'll do is we'll go here, and this time we're going to use a different JS expression. First one, I'll explain it to you. Type. So we want a toaster. If you type notification and type in the same JS, the notification message will be this, and the type success or error will come from here. And then we have something called as event params as well. We want, if anyone uses a reject or approve button, we want the grid to refresh. So we want every time a new value. That is why I'm using date.now, because date.now will every time give a new value. And with that new value, any variable that has been mapped in the UI will refresh. So if a grid or some graph, anything is related to that variable, it will refresh with a new value. So that is it. I'll just publish the workflow. And what I'll do is I'll come to the UI section, this section, and the data section. Again, I wanted to do it on approve. I want some event to happen. What event to happen? I want to call a workflow. What workflow do we want to use? Action, approve, or reject. What variables will it take? It will take leave ID, and see how I'm going to do it here. I'm going to say React table, the component, React table component 1, and then the column name. So leave ID was the column name. This, it's available for me. The second thing was action name. So I'm doing it on the approve button. So I'll say AWP ROVD approve, and that's done. We can deploy this, and we can do the same thing on the reject button. We'll go here, an event will fire. What fire? Workflow call. Okay. Action. This workflow is to be called. Same thing. LEAV leave ID, the component that we'll be using, dot leave ID, and that's done. Now one thing I want is action name. Here I wanted as basically rejected. So that's taken care of. Now the thing which I was talking about, if anyone clicks on the button, we want the grid to refresh. So I'll go on the grid. In this data section, I will use a filter which is called as refresh, and the variable event params. Event params, anything in the event params will become a variable. And how to use a variable in front end? You use the angular brackets. So it will be refresh only. Now the approve and reject buttons are working. Let's test them. Everything should work. If I click on approve, success comes, and that particular entry has been approved from me. Since I'm only viewing the pending leaves, So if I approve or reject something, it goes and it is approved or reject for that person. So I can do this, approve and reject. So we are done with the second page. One thing we forgot, that we had to use an interaction on this button. So clearly I'll go to this interaction button, go to, no, open, go to URL. I'll paste in the URL. And open in the blank, same thing. So we're done with the second page. The only thing that is remaining now is SSO and email integration. Let's see how much time is left on the clock. So it's 20 minutes. We still have 20 minutes. So that's enough time for us. Acha, on the charts. Let me. What we're gonna do here is, let's go to the login page and first implement SSO. So this is the pages that we have created, and these are the modules that were available for us. I'll go to the login module. I'll obviously save and continue so nothing gets lost. Always remember to save your changes. Then I'm gonna drop a container. This is the default login page that you get in the application. An email address, a password, a login button, which already has a workflow available on it. So you do not have to create it every time you create an application. This is what you get by default. But what we want to do is we want to enable SSO. So I will drop SSO login here. And maybe I'm gonna say it, not SS login with Google, but I'm gonna say login with Microsoft. You can do in any name, it doesn't matter. So I'll say Microsoft, and maybe let's give an icon to it. So I'll go to settings and add on prefix icon. If you want that button to look in as an icon, you can go in the content and icon section, but you want a prefix icon with a text. That's why I came to styling and we came here. I'll search for Microsoft. Maybe use this one. This one looks pretty. That is available for me. So yeah, it's here. What I can do is I can drop it in here. It will look much better, or maybe outside only. So we do not have to style it again and again, and deploy. And that's it. That's pretty much it. Let's go to the application. You can go to the application, log into the application directly from here. So it will be logged in. But what we want is we want to see how SSO works here. So yeah, this is the live application that we have used. I'll put the same URL in the chat and you all can access it, but you do not have the access to it. Your user is not created. We want to change the email address and user table, and that's when you'll be able to log in. But you can see the application. This is a live deployed application. Okay, we still have how many minutes on the clock? 18 minutes of the clock, and we just have one more workflow to integrate, which is the raise a request. So that is pending, and rest everything is done. Now I can log out here. You can see my profile both in the builder and the deployed application, Lumenore Studio. And this is the page. Now I want to use SSO login. I just want to click on this button and everything is done for me. Acha, I did not apply the SSO type. I just only write that. Okay, that was a very silly mistake. I just went and added only the headers, but I did not say what data it is supposed to be processing. So this is where it comes. I go into the general section. Did we select the right button? And then I go to the data section and workflow. I can select SSO type. There it is. What particular SSO type I want to use. So we have Google, Apple, and Microsoft. For now, I can use it only Microsoft, and it does. Now, what are these pre-workflow IDs? Is sign up and workflow. If I'm implementing workflow, do I want users to sign up in my application using those workflow? If not, we'll have to create them manually, and users will only be able to log in using this button. If you want some workflow to run after a user logs in, you can do that. If you want some pre-workflow to run, maybe you want to do auditing, so how many people clicked on that button but never signed up, so you can create a workflow and you can put that here. But none of that is in our case, so that's pretty much it. Deploy button, come here, refresh button, and now if I click on my login with Microsoft, a Microsoft screen, and a session has been created for me and I'm logged into the application. So that's pretty much it. Now for the email thing. So let's start with creating the workflow for raising a request. So see, I can quickly jump between the actual application and my development space. I'll go to the home module, obviously save and continue. In my home module, I want to implement a workflow and send request. So I'll go here, I'll create an extensive workflow. I'll name it as, again, the naming convention, action, apply, leave. Great. Now what I want here is, first things first, I want a dynamic SQL query because it will take to, from, and reason from the workflow. So the date and everything. So what we'll do here is, I'll use this query that I have already created. It accepts date as formats. My query is valid. For now, I'll just save it. Or maybe we can assign the variables as well. So first will be the leave type. As you can see, this is the leave type. The first question mark is at leave type. The second is date. The third is to. So from here to, and the last one is the reason. All mapped here. I could change the parameter type from here as well, or I can use them just as varchar and then change the parameter type from here. So yes, that's done. But that's not just it. What we want this workflow to do is, firstly, I was explaining the query. What we want this workflow to do is, we want to check if I can raise a request on that particular day as well. Maybe I've already requested a leave on that day, so it should not allow me to do that. And do I even have the available quota to do that? So what this query does is, it inserts the data only and only if the everything is valid. So the employee should be there, leave type should be valid, allocation for this, it should be only for allocation of this year, end date should be before start date, and past, you cannot apply leave from past date. So all the requests, if everything goes right, it will give me successfully applied in a success column. But if anything goes wrong, any of these above conditions do not meet, then I will get that message in the error column. That is all that this query does. So now I need to bifurcate what happened in the query. So I'll quickly use a conditional. Now this is a very powerful tool, very powerful node in the workflow, I should say. What it does is, it workflow is not just one single line. It can have multiple decisions. You can have multiple decision trees, and that is where the conditional step comes in. This is called as a conditional node, and you can write either JS or you can write either SQL in it. For now, I'll be using JS. I want to fetch the data from the last workflow and see if the error message was true or not. Simply that. So I'll copy this from here and paste it here. Now you can see what I do here is, I use a query as a variable, query result as a variable. I use that dynamic SQL query node, and then only then, if the result at 00 is not null, which is the first column, right? If error is not null, then it goes into true, or else it returns false, which was already assigned. So the false is obviously red, and true is this. On true, we'll use the email trigger as well. We're coming in there for in a second. So this, and then the false step. So what we're gonna do in the false step, we're gonna display a message. What message? Whatever the dynamic SQL query returned. So to do that, I'll come here, and then I'll use this JS expression. What this JS expression does, just a second. Whatever the data came from the dynamic SQL query node, the error part. So 0th and 0th was an error. If it was not null, we have verified it in the last conditional. It fetches that, but if it is not found, it says unknown error and return yes. That's it. So this is enough to display the message that we're gonna use. So that's pretty much it. And now in the true statement, what I want to do is fetch the details of the person who applied it, who will be using that, and then send the email to that person. So I'll use a SQL query to fetch those details, chase expression to manipulate that data, and send email node to trigger an email. So how much time do we have on the clock? Only 10 minutes. Okay. So we gotta do it fast. An SQL query, which fetches the data. For the last three requests made by that, applicant name, manager email, start date, end date, and leave type. Then in JS expression, what this JS expression does is it uses that SQL queries data, results it. If no request for found, that it says this, and then the applier is fetched from the result set. Approver name, everything is fetched, so we'll directly fed it into the email node. Now this is the actual URL of the application. So I'm gonna copy it here and paste it. There will be a button action URL in the email, so we'll use it for that. And then I have the HTML, the entire HTML. So I'll quickly even show you how this looks. Someone an HTML viewer, or maybe not. Yeah, we'll directly see it in the email. So yeah, approval email, this will return to subject and body. This will return three things. And finally, the email node, which we have been waiting for. Now, the display name, what do you want the email to say? So you want that email in the usernames, right? You want leave management. And from, so you can leave this empty. This is a configurable thing. So if you want your custom domain to be available in Luminor, we can configure that, and then you can type in your from email and then it works. For now, you can leave it alone and an email will be triggered from Luminor's own mailbox. Now two. So what I'll do is I'll just name myself here. So every email that is triggered in this, maybe this could be email of an HR. So any email that is triggered will be sent to it. And in the CC, we can actually use, or we can use alternatively. So for two, we can use the variables, and for CC, we can use the direct email or anything. So it's just testing purposes. So I'm using this. Now you remember we created this CC in the JS expression one. So here it is. And then the body, here it is, and the subject. So everything is coming from the JS expression. That's why I'm directly pasting it here. And our workflow is ready. Let's just apply it. Now, you might, how much time do we have left on the clock? 7 minutes. That'll be enough. Now, in the past workflows, whenever we wanted to use variables, what we did was we did it in the button and then we passed it inside of the filters. But that is a very hectic task. Let's say I have a lot of fields and I want to fetch data from a lot of them. I do not want to do it in that. I can drop all the fields inside of a form, which is done here, and then I can label them. So the label of this will be obviously leave time, and the field name. Field name will be the variable name. So leave type, right? This is accepted. And then in the calendar section, field name from. In the to section, field name would be to. In the reason box, field name would be reason. And that's pretty much it. We have done everything. I just have to apply the workflow here. So I'll go into general, data section, and workflows, action, apply for leave. That's it. That's it. If we had some custom payload, we could pass it here, but we do not have that. So in our use case, so yeah, that's done. I'll deploy the application and we're ready to go. Let's check it. Maybe I want to use the earn leave, maybe as late as November 4th. From November 4th to I want it out to November 6th. And let's say travel is my reason. Now I want to show you how variables are passed in this workflow. So I'll use the send workflow section and away email has been shot. Since we did not use the refresh thing, we did not see a refresh button. But an email has been shot for me. There was no error. If there would have been an error, we would have been seen it. We can actually see it. So if I apply a leave from the same date, which was November 4th, this time I do it, I see this particular thing overlaps in existing leave requests. So this is what we created just now. I explained it to you. So yeah, now let's check the email. Okay, I do not have email logged in. But yeah, an email has been shot to the person who has created this request. So that's pretty much it. How much time we have left on the clock? 4 minutes. So we did it exactly in 1 hour. Our application is live. Ask your question. So our application is live. The clock has been running this whole time and we did it. So what we did, we created the data modeling, we created the user interface, we created workflows, and most importantly, we deployed the application. So the application is live and running here. I can log in and I can do all kinds of stuff in here, which whatever we have created. So the application is deployed as well. Here it is. Our application is deployed for me. So we have done these 4 stages. So let's celebrate. Bill is complete. Every step was shipped and we did it in full circle. So we had an idea, we created an application and it is shipped. We did just not talk about Lumenore Studio. We used it to create a live application which had SSO, emails, approvals, balances, charts, everything beautiful and simple. So that is how we created it. This was our webinar, Luminor, from idea to live app in 60 minutes. Thank you so much for patiently listening with me. If you have any questions, post your questions in chat, or you can also you can post your questions in community.luminor.com, or you can directly email us to connect@luminor.com. We have a question here which says, can we use some other design from other AI tools and drop that here? So that is basically what you need to do here is that is a very valid and a very pretty question. What we use here is Tailwind CSS. So any container you drag and drop, right? You can apply any CSS you want, but you cannot custom code a container. For that, we have something in future. We are building an AI platform with Luminous Studio only. So you can put in all your questions or maybe in the chat box and you want to create an application out of it, it will create that application. So we have more questions, I guess, which says amazing capability. Will the record of this will yes, it will be shared with you all over email. Any more questions? It's time for you to ask questions. Any questions that you have, either it is related to Lumina Studio or not, building capabilities, we can do that here. So any questions? No more questions? Someone is typing, is there any data model page that manages my tables? Uh, okay, so you have certain tables that can manage those, right? That is your question. Okay, I'll show you that. Yes, you absolutely have that. What do you have here, which I've already shown you in the very starting? This is the UI canvas page. This is your workflow page, which is basically the API pages, and this is your data model page. So you can connect n number of databases here. You get a system which has users and roles for obvious reasons. The users and roles will be managed by Lumina Studio. And then you get a default database, schema. So you can create new tables directly here. You do not have to give passwords. You do not even need to have a database. We provide it for you if you do not have your own database. For our use case, we imported the data. That's why we connected the data. But yes, you can create tables. So let's say testing only, because we are testing this. So a table has been created. Now you can create some columns, but we create identifier columns for you. So we create identity ID columns, created on, modified on, created by, tenant ID and operation. We create these columns for you. But if you really want to add more columns, you can create more columns. So let's say I'm very bad at naming columns. So let's just say call, and we can select the type. So let's say I want to create it as an integer. I want to provide a default value or not. We can do that as well. So yeah, that will be available here for you. So that answers our question. Any more questions? Lost track. Any more questions? When you connect multiple databases, how do you usually handle users and permissions across them? So that's a very beautiful and generous question. What is done over here is that when you're connecting or bringing your own database, the security lies with you. You're sharing your credentials, we store them hashed, and we just create connections out of it. So yeah, we are not gonna handle user and permissions. Any user that you're giving in the application, the permissions for the tables and the permissions for all the user should be created and the permission should be given. So that answers the question. If you have any other questions, you can ask me. Okay, so I think we're done with the questions, but if you have any other questions, you can directly post it in community.luminor.com, or you can contact us at connect@luminor.com. Thank you so much.